The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today. The individuals lying about me are devoid of ethical standards, humility, and respect. I do not object to their ignorance, but rather I reject their mean-spirited attempts to defame my reputation. I never been friends with Epstein. Donald and I were invited to the same parties as Epstein from time to time, since overlapping in social circles is common in New York City and Palm Beach. To be clear, I never had a relationship with Epstein or his accomplice, Maxwell. My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as any.
We have nothing to do with Epstein, the Democrats do. All of his friends were Democrats. I'm all for it. You know, we've already given 50,000 pages. You do know that. Unfortunately, like with the Kennedy situation, with the Martin Luther King situation, not to put Jeffrey Epstein in the same category, but no matter what we give, it's never enough. Some of the people that we mentioned are being looked at very seriously for their relationship to Jeffrey Epstein, but they were with him all the time. I wasn't at all. And I don't. They can do whatever they want. We'll give them everything. Sure, I would. Let the Senate look at it. Let anybody look at it. But don't talk about it too much, because honestly, I don't want to take it away from us. It's really a Democrat problem. The Democrats were Epstein's friends, all of them. And it's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax. And I don't want to take it away from really the greatness of what the Republican Party has accomplished over the last period of time.
Why did she do this? That's really what everyone was asking. Why? Like, everyone knows in PR, once the storm has passed, you don't do anything to bring it back upon you. Like, if she doesn't want people talking about her relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell or whatever it was with Epstein, then she shouldn't talk about her relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell or Jeffrey Epstein, especially when, has that been in the news? Have any of you been seeing that in the news? The news right now is nonstop Iran. And that's why some people are speculating, was this meant to distract people from Iran? Like, did they use Epstein to distract from Iran and then Iran to distract from Epstein? Or like, and then Epstein once again to distract from Iran? I have no idea, but I do know it's very strange that, not being at the center of the storm, this woman who has been media savvy now for 10 years decided to make herself at the center of it. And here's a sample of what she said.
The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today. The individuals lying about me.
Digging because the First Lady decided to address the nation and the globe and went to the podium and stated that she had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein and she was not a victim. So we all were wondering why. If you are not on X, which is formerly known as Twitter, you would not have seen that Amanda was active on X, formerly known as Twitter. And it's very important to say that, because she was tweeting up a storm about Melania, which I think a lot of those texts and Twitters have been taken down. But she also was tweeting about Pam Bondi when those survivors were standing behind Pam Bondi and she refused to turn around. This is what Amanda had tweeted about, technically X, formerly known as Twitter.
So let me just say, I predicted a lot about what's happening right now. I'm not into saying I told you so, but we did see it coming. But what I did not predict is that we would not have Jesse Jackson with us right now to help us get through this. And this afternoon has been such a beautiful remembrance of his spirit, his life, and his faith. And in a way that Reverend Al talked about it and so many others have, I do think of this afternoon as what it is doing for me to renew my faith in what is possible, fueled by the hope that Jesse Jackson so often reminded us of.
Ungaro, who was in a relationship with Paolo Zamboli. It's Paolo Zamboli, who is now with, or was last night, on tour with J.D. Vance. He is the ex of Amanda Ungaro and got her deported back to Brazil. How Amanda and Paolo got together. Amanda was scouted in Brazil at 13 years old. She moved to Milan to be a model. Paolo had his eye on her since the time she was 13. They got together when she was 17. Now, Amanda does state that she was on Jeffrey Epstein's plane. Her former agent, Jean Brunel, did try to convince her to smuggle snow over here in the United States. Jean Brunel is no longer with us. He was in a jail, found not with us anymore. It was a known fact that he provided Jeffrey Epstein with young girls. And Amanda Ungaro does remember that time where they tried to have her snuggle some snow, and there was 30 other girls on this plane. Paolo had his eyes on Amanda since she was 13. They get together at 17. She comes over here to the United States, and he kind of dangled that he was going to make her a citizen here and sponsor her just like he did Melania, but he never ended up doing it.
When they asked Donald Trump about Epstein file, he doesn't say anything.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. The sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work. They're stupid people. Yeah, go ahead.
Who is in Epstein file? I think Congress should release Epstein file by this year, because we are tired of guessing who is in Epstein file. Watch this.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration.
President Trump, you have so much influence and power in this situation. Please use that influence and power to help us.
Please, President Trump, pass this bill and help us. Make us feel like our voices are finally being heard.
This is not just my story. It is about every survivor who carries invisible scars. It's about the weight we live with daily. It is about the families broken and the futures stolen. So I ask you, President Trump and members of Congress, why do we continue to cover up sexual abuse and assault? Who are we covering for? Let the public know the truth.
Mr. President Donald J. Trump, I am a registered Republican, not that that matters because this is not political. However, I cordially invite you to the Capitol to meet me in person so you can understand this is not a hoax. We are real human beings. This is real trauma.
So this is a Democrat hoax that never ends. From what I understand, I could check, but from what I understand, thousands of pages of documents have been given. But it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president.
A single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
The gentleman has expired.
May I respond?
Yeah, I don't know how you respond. No one can.
I did not ask a question,
He
Mr.
doesn't
You're
want
allowed
to talk
to.
about
I did
the
not ask a
horrific
question.
crime in California. He does not want to talk about
I did not ask a
crime
question.
in his
She
state.
can't just
Madam
ad
Attorney
lib
General.
stuff. I did not ask a question.
Meeting will be in order.
Why are Epstein survivors trying to block Donald Trump's Attorney General nominee? For years, Jeffrey Epstein's story has been told through powerful men, the secret files, and the conspiracy theories. But another story unfolded alongside it. The women who say they've spent years pushing the justice system to deliver the accountability it's promised. One of them is Danny Bensky. She and other accusers are urging senators not to confirm Todd Blanche as Attorney General.
Melania Trump just held a press conference where she denied having any connections to Jeffrey Epstein, despite nobody talking about that. What do you think?
Honestly, I haven't thought. Melania Trump, the name hasn't even entered into my conscious awareness. I have completely divested from her name. I mean, the fact that I'm speaking about her now. Who is that?
She's the First Lady of the United States.
That's right. Okay. And what happened?
She had a press conference yesterday just out of the blue where she was like, hey, by the way, I had nothing to do with Epstein.
It feels like she might have something to do with Epstein.
Kind of feels like she might have something to do with Epstein.
I guess my curiosity is, like, do they think that we can't read in the ether their lives? You know what I mean? Because I hear the words, right?
Yeah.
It's like the words, but then it's like also like the other space that we can read what is actually happening. It's really clear.
We have situational awareness. We know what's going on. Do you think I'm dumb?
Do you, Melania?
US First Lady Melania Trump has threatened to sue Hunter Biden for $1 billion after he claimed she was introduced to her husband by sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Her legal team have labelled the claims as false, disparaging and inflammatory. Hunter, the son of former US President Joe Biden, made the comments in an interview this month and defended them even in the face of that lawsuit threat.
Epstein introduced Melania to Donald.
You never was the one introduced Melania to Trump. It was Jeffrey Epstein. I know because I was with you 20 years and you always told me it was not you, it was Jeffrey Epstein.
Amanda Ungaro was married to Paolo Zampoli. Paolo Zampoli was one of the primary traffickers of women and children for Jeffrey Epstein. Paolo is in this current administration, shocking to no one. They are divorced, right? They were married when she was very young. He had her deported. When this happened, she called Melania, who she has known for years. Melania basically said, tough shit, until she found out Amanda is speaking out and will continue to do so when she popped in front of the press and had her weird little moment and made herself look even worse. Amanda, married to Paolo, such close proximity to the Trumps, to Ghislaine, to Epstein himself. The shit this woman has seen and knows can unlock all of this. They do not want that. Lucky for her and for us, she is out of the country.
These Epstein files are like Melania's movie. No one's ever going to see them. Melania treated the finance bros assembled to her thoughts on the power of storytelling.
What do you remember when you hear Rolling Stones? Michael Jackson.
Are you really trying to tell us that this dumb vanity project / corporate bribe is a work of art we're going to remember like the music of Rolling Stones and Michael Jackson? I mean, the only thing that reminds me of Michael Jackson is when it's bad, you know it, and it's bad.
So this just came as a surprise. The First Lady just took to the podium here at the White House to deny forcefully that she ever had any kind of relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, saying that she came to defend herself against people who are trying to smear her, quote, good name. Now, it's not clear what smears specifically she's referring to or why she decided to speak out about this right now. Here's what we do know. Melania Trump was photographed back in the early 2000s alongside Trump, Epstein, and his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. And the Justice Department's Epstein files do include some email exchanges between the First Lady and Maxwell. But the First Lady insists she was never friends with Epstein, and she was emphatic that he did not introduce her to the president and that she did not know of any of Epstein's crimes. But this all came really out of the blue. This White House has been very eager and trying to turn the page on all of this and move past this. In fact, the acting attorney general just last week said that as far as the Justice Department is concerned, this is case closed. But yet here you have the First Lady today coming out before the cameras and calling for Epstein's victims to be allowed to tell their side of the story publicly and testify before Congress.
All of a sudden, Donald Trump, who was one of Jeffrey Epstein's best friends for well over a decade, he gets scot-free. They are trying to haul Hillary Clinton, who has not been implicated in anything. There are no allegations involving her. At the same time that they are letting Melania Trump, who also has not been implicated or accused of anything. Yeah. But there's pictures of Melania Trump with Epstein. There's not a single picture of Hillary Clinton with Epstein. So if you're going to start dragging first ladies who have nothing to do with it, then why don't we start with Melania?
And don't you
A number of Republicans are calling on you to apologize for that post. Is that something you're going to do?
No, I didn't make a mistake. I mean, I look at a lot of thousands of things. And I looked at the beginning of it. It was fine. They had that one post, and I guess it was a takeoff. By the way, a lot of people covered. If you look at where it came from, I guess it was a takeoff on the Lion King. And certainly it was a very strong post in terms of voter fraud. Nobody knew that was at the end. If they would have looked, they would have seen it. And probably they would have had the sense to take it down.
According to Midas Touch reporting, Melania Trump has rushed to federal court over claims connected to, guess what? The Epstein files. The report says Melania filed emergency legal actions seeking to block or limit the spread of allegations involving her name that has surfaced alongside renewed scrutiny of Epstein-related documents. What's important here is not the speculation, it's her response. High-profile figures do not march this quickly unless they believe something poses a serious legal or reputational risk. The filing, as reported, isn't about proving innocence or guilt. It's about controlling the narrative and stopping claims before they proceed any further. By the First Lady, mind you. And the timing matters bigly, because it comes as pressure mounts to release more Epstein-related records, and as the public's attention shifts back to who is fighting transparency and who isn't. Courts don't decide truth in headlines. They decide whether claims can be challenged, delayed, or suppressed. And when someone like the First Lady rushes to court, it tells you one thing for sure. She is scared. And she is worried about what comes next. Share your thoughts in the comment section and follow me for more.
Mr. President, undocumented immigrants,
We actually do have time for that.
they're not eligible for the health care subsidies that Democrats are demanding. So can you clarify, what are you talking about when you say Democrats want to protect their health care?
So when an illegal person comes in, a person who came into our country illegally, therefore breaking the law, and look, we all have big hearts. I have a bigger heart than you do. They're all breaking the law, and they're coming into our country. And we just, as a country, cannot afford to take care of millions of people who have broken the law coming in. We want them to come into our country, but we want them to come in legally. Now we have a strong border, very strong border, thanks to Christie and Tom Homan and the whole group. They've done an amazing job at the border. I mean, we had a border that was reckless. We had a border that was a disaster. They were coming in by the millions. I say 25 million people. You're saying less, but I say 25 million people came in illegally. And no system can take care of the health care of all of those people that came in.
Yesterday was a very bad day for Melania Trump. Her dark past is surfacing, and she wants people to believe that her film was a success when it was an utter disaster. By the way, the Midas Touch Network broke an exclusive that Trump faith-based leaders, and I put that in quote, were encouraging bulk buys in order to try to manipulate ticket sales. I'll get to that in a moment. But let's talk about Melania's dark past surfacing. So Melania, you can try to threaten lawsuits against people like Donald Trump's former biographer, Michael Wolff, or you could threaten lawsuits against Hunter Biden, but you're not scaring anybody. Michael Wolff sued you. You have not countersued him, and you've been running away as Wolff tried to serve you with the lawsuit. Then you rush to federal court and say that Michael Wolff's lawsuit against you should be dismissed because you've been dodging service of the summons and complaint. But as I mentioned, your dark past is surfacing, Melania. Your name is appearing in these Epstein files that your husband's DOJ that he weaponized released on Friday. Now, to be very clear, just because your name appears, I'll let the people judge and form their own opinions, Melania. I'm just going to stick to what the documents say that Trump's DOJ produced. So, of course, there was the document that I covered on another video. So let me do that one first. But then I'll show the document next that talks about Epstein introduced Melania Trump to Donald Trump. I'm reading from the document. I'm not attesting to the truth of the matter asserted. I'm just reading documents from the files, and I'm letting my audience draw opinions however they see fit, using my First Amendment right. So there was the October 23rd, 2002 email from you to Ghislaine Maxwell. Hi, G. I thought you didn't know Ghislaine. I thought that you didn't have a relationship. You had a nickname for her. You called her G. You're also in photos with her. But dear G, how are you? Nice story about Jeffrey Epstein in New York Magazine. You look great on the picture. I know you are very busy flying all over the world. How is Palm Beach? I cannot wait to go down. Give me a call when you're back in New York. Have a great time. Love, Melania. So you had nicknames for Ghislaine Maxwell. You plan to meet again in New York, in my opinion, based on this email. And isn't that the New York Magazine where Donald Trump said Epstein is a great guy who likes women on the younger side? That wasn't a red flag, Melania. It wasn't a red flag that the Mar-a-Lago spa was being sent to Epstein's home a few miles down the road. Not a red flag there, Melania, because you were talking to Ghislaine during the height of a child sex trafficking ring that Ghislaine and Jeffrey were involved in. J.E. as you nicknamed him. Let's take a look at this other document, Bates number EFTA 159322. This appears to be a proffer to the FBI, and here's what it says. So-and-so put in contact with an agent named Paolo Zampoli, who worked with ID models. Now, these next few sentences are redacted. I don't think they should be redacted. The Epstein Transparency Act specifically says that these redactions are a violation of law unless it specifically gives the name of a...
I was at the White House when First Lady Melania Trump gave her unexpected remarks on Jeffrey Epstein, and it's safe to say the subject surprised everyone who was covering it, as we weren't given any sort of advance notice about the theme of the statement. The First Lady denied close ties to the convicted sex offender and struck down claims that she was one of his victims.
I reject their mean-spirited attempts to defame my reputation.
One particular moment stood out, and it pertained not only to Epstein, but her accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell.
To be clear, I never had a relationship with Epstein or his accomplice, Maxwell. My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence. My polite reply to her email doesn't amount to anything more than a trivial note.
The email she's referring to reads, Dear G, how are you? Nice story about J.E. in New York Mag. You look great on the picture. I know you're very busy flying all over the world. How's Palm Beach? I cannot wait to go down. Give me a call when you're back in New York. Have a great time. Love, Melania. MS Now called President Donald Trump after the presser, and he picked up.
Who said he was in the middle of a war meeting and that he couldn't talk for very long and had to go, but that actually he had no prior knowledge to the topic that Melania Trump, his wife, was going to be touching upon today.
Former Attorney General Pam Bondi was set to testify before the House Oversight Committee next week on the handling of the Epstein files, but the Department of Justice recently announced that she would no longer appear. Nevertheless, the committee is still seeking answers and will hear Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick's testimony on May 6. Reporting for Newsweek from Washington, I'm Leonardo Feldman.
Who really introduced Donald Trump to his now wife, Melania?
Epstein introduced Donald Trump and Melania.
Did Jeffrey Epstein really introduce Donald Trump to Melania?
For years, Paolo Zampoli, an Italian entrepreneur and close friend of Trump's from the early 90s, and Melania's former modeling agent, has told and retold a story about how he introduced Trump to the woman who would become his third wife in 1998.
So you introduced Donald to Melania?
Yes.
And what was that introduction like?
I say, Melania, please meet my dear friend Donald.
But some Epstein file sleuths point to a document that they say appears to contradict that. This is the file casting doubt on that story, a typewritten FBI report from a July 12, 2019 interview with an Epstein assistant. Epstein introduced Melania Trump to Donald Trump.
But dig a little deeper and you'll find this document. Our visual analysis shows they appear to be the handwritten notes from that same interview with the assistant. Same date, same details from the interview,
like when she worked for Epstein and a job offer at Victoria's Secret, but they show a different set of facts about how Melania first met Trump. Put in contact with agent Paolo Zampoli, ID Models. That was the modeling agency Zampoli owned. He trying to buy elite models with J.E., meaning Jeffrey Epstein. He introduced Melania Trump to Prez, the witness goes on to say. She thinks he ambassador now, according to the notes.
At the time, Zampoli was a UN ambassador. We asked the FBI for clarification on the differences between the typewritten and handwritten notes. They referred us to the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice said there is no discrepancy. That's confusing. So we wrote to them again.
They referred us to the First Lady's comments.
The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today.
That surprise press conference Melania Trump held in April.
Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump. I met my husband by chance at a New York City party in 1998.
The timing baffled people.
These kinds of press conferences only come when a major bombshell story is about to drop on that exact topic.
This announcement from the First Lady comes less than a week after Pam Bondi was fired from her job as Attorney General, and just one day after the Trump Department of Justice announced that Bondi would not testify about her handling or mishandling of the Epstein files.
The questions swirling around this meet-cute have ruffled feathers at the White House. Epstein and the release of the Epstein files have been a constant headache for this administration. There are images of Trump and Epstein going back to the 90s looking quite chummy. That's before Trump says he fell out with the sexual predator somewhere around 2004.
I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert.
But Zampoli, the alleged Cupid, has never fallen out with Trump. Zampoli, for years, worked for the Trump Organization and now is a special envoy to the U.S. president. And he revels in his closeness to the First Family, even posting this AI video for the First Lady's birthday.
We asked the Office of the First Lady about what role Zampoli played in her introduction to the president. They didn't get back to us.
I worked with the Visual Investigations team to dig into these connections. If there's something you want us to investigate, email us at
talked about how Melania Trump gave a surprise press conference yesterday that people are calling extraordinary because it seemed to come from out of the blue. In the press conference, she repudiates all connections with both Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell outside of casual acquaintances because they traveled in the same social circles. But that still doesn't answer the reason about why she would choose now to go on the record about this, especially now when Donald Trump has successfully obliterated interest in the Epstein files because of his, unprovoked war of choice in Iran. Now, there are a few theories about why she did this. One is that Brazilian model Amanda Ungaro is making a stink on social media saying that she's going to basically tell all. Now, Amanda Ungaro was trafficked as a minor by Jeffrey Epstein to New York City, where she was groomed by Paolo Zampoli, who is a model agent, and they were together for 17 years and had a child together. Now, Paolo is a good friend of Donald Trump's. Such a good friend that Donald Trump put him on the board of the Trump Kennedy Center. And earlier this year, as reported by the New York Times, Paolo made a call to his friends in the White House, seeing if they could get his ex-girlfriend Amanda kicked out of the country. And then she was. And he has gotten custody of their child as a result. And so Amanda, who is in Brazil, is threatening to do some sort of tell-all. And there are people who believe that that is why Melania made her statement yesterday about her not having any relationships with Epstein and Maxwell. Regardless, many thanks to Melania for bringing this topic back into the public conversation.
Melania Trump has finally made her debut in the Epstein files. So this was an email from Melania to Ghislaine Maxwell, who's Jeffrey Epstein's right hand. Dear G, how are you? Nice story about J.E., Jeffrey Epstein in New York Mag. You look great in the picture. And this is the picture, this infamous picture that we've all seen a million times at this point. I know you're very busy flying all over the world. How is Palm Beach, aka where Jeffrey Epstein conducted all of his sex abuse? I cannot wait to go down. Give me a call when you're back in NY. Have a great time. Love, Melania. We know that Melania and Trump started dating around the time that Epstein and Trump were friends, but Melania's been working overtime to keep her hands clean of this whole mess. She even sued the Daily Beast for suggesting that Epstein introduced the two of them, but now these new emails suggest that they were all pretty close around the time that they started dating. Because we also found this email of someone saying to Epstein, "I remember flying back with Donald on his plane the first weekend I went to visit you in Florida was the weekend he met Melania." And he kept on coming out of the bedroom saying, "Wow, what a hot piece of ass." Nuts. Anyway, hope you're enjoying Saudi. Elon Musk was also pretty heavily featured in this Epstein drop, and not in the best light because he seemed pretty desperate to visit Epstein on his island. Here's an email from Elon to Epstein saying, "What day night will be the wildest party on your island?" He even tried to introduce Epstein to his brother. Here's an email in 2012. "Can J.E. do coffee with Kimball Musk at 10 a.m. on Friday, October 5th? And keep in mind, this is after Epstein was accused of sex crimes in 2008. And like everyone, Elon has tried to distance himself from the whole thing. He even told Vanity Fair, "Epstein tried repeatedly to get me to visit his island. I declined," even though we know that's not true. Like, here is an entire back and forth between Elon and Epstein in 2013 about when Elon should visit his island. Anyway, this was a nice break from some of the heavier, darker, more disturbing Epstein files in this new drop. We did cover a lot of those, so make sure to check that coverage out on our page. We'll continue to dig through these files because there's more than 3 million, so make sure to follow the news girls to stay in the loop.
Okay, I'll bite. Why? Why did Melania come out and start talking about Epstein? Oh, she's trying to save her own ass. Well, save from what? Nobody's asking any questions. She hasn't been subpoenaed. The Democrats aren't looking for her. There's nothing imminent. Nobody's even asking any questions about her. The White House didn't know she was going to give a speech where she says the survivors should be able to testify under oath, and that she had nothing to do with this, and she never even says anything to clear her husband. I mean, this is bizarro. If I didn't know any better, you'd think she wanted to sabotage the president. I mean, what other rationale makes sense? The idea that, well, she's just defending herself. Defending herself from what?
I am no longer supporting this administration. I redact any support I've ever given to him, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel. I am so disgusted with this administration. I think that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel both need to resign. And I would love to see number 47 get impeached over this.
I don't like the pictures of Bill Clinton being shown. I don't like the pictures of other people being shown. I think it's a terrible thing. A lot of people are very angry that pictures are being released of other people that really had nothing to do with Epstein, but they're in a picture with him because he was at a party, and you ruin the reputation of somebody.
If you're telling the public and the world and the survivors that just because somebody's in a picture with him doesn't automatically mean they were involved in the crimes against children, which I understand, and I get that fully, then why are you so scared to release the files, and why has there been so much resistance? If it's just a picture, why are you going above and beyond to hide the identities of these men? And I do believe, because of all the shame and guilt the survivors have gone through, and the public scrutiny and the backlash that we've received, and the shame and embarrassment that doesn't even belong to us. It belongs to the men that continue to have business and personal relationships with a known pedophile and his accomplice.
So
the embarrassment and shame belongs to them, Trump included.
And we should note, Trump has not been accused of criminal wrongdoing, but as you said, he is named in these files. There are pictures.
Hey everyone, it is Wednesday evening and I am just leaving to go to the congressional baseball game, but I wanted to just put on your radar a truly stunning piece of journalism that came out in the New York Times today about the White House cover-up of the Epstein files. If you have not read this article, go read this article. This article reveals months of reporting that not only did the White House know that Donald Trump was in the Epstein files, but that they spent months in the Situation Room with his staff, the vice president, the chief of staff, Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, Kash Patel, his communications staff, basically day to day in crisis mode, trying to figure out how to stop the release of the files, how to navigate the public outrage over it, and basically how to break the law. And what is so stunning about this reporting is that it's very clear that the president himself directed his staff to not release the files. It is clear that the president himself was actively engaged in the cover-up. It is clear that the vice president, the attorney general, the deputy attorney general, the head of the FBI, the deputy head of the FBI, the communications staff at the White House, and a slew of others were using the room where presidents discuss war to try to manage and stop compliance with the law and cover up the Epstein files. This is Donald Trump's Watergate. If you have not read this report, go read this report. And you better believe we are going to be calling every single one of them in front of Congress to answer.
We now know why Melania Trump gave a very strange, unexpected, and surprising speech about Epstein a couple days ago. It's because her friend Amanda Ungaro is speaking out, is saying things that Melania has to defend, and is likely going to be talking to CNN on Monday. Now, we have gone through many different interviews, lots of articles, and through Melania's own book to bring you this story and to let you know what is going on. Now, this is a very complicated web of relationships and lies and stories, and we're probably just going to be able to give you a little bit about what's happening. But I wanted to bring you this because I think this is truly the key to a lot of what is going on in the White House. And it, of course, all has to point back to Epstein. Now, as we said, Melania Trump gave this speech yesterday. Remember when she said this? Here she is with her then husband and, of course, Donald Trump and Melania Trump. Here's Paulo with Melania and Trump. Here's all four of them for our Independence Day post. Here they are again for the New Year's in 2022. Here they are at Christmas time, looking thrilled, absolutely thrilled. So you get the idea. These people were quite close. They knew each other. And the key to all this is Amanda, who knew Melania before any of this, and who likely knows the truth behind so much of what we still don't have answers to. And she's speaking up. But first, let's just get into who Amanda is just a little bit. Amanda met Paulo through modeling. Paulo owned an agency called ID Models. And Amanda originally came to America on Epstein's jet.
Por muitas vezes, me peguei pensando nas mulheres que não tiveram a mesma sorte como eu tive. Como assim, Amanda? Você foi presa injustamente e quase te destruíram? Sim, isso também é verdade. Mas estou aqui hoje, conseguindo me expor, falar, olhar com a cabeça erguida para uma câmera. Sabe por quê? Eu tive gente que apareceu antes do abismo me engolir. Tive quem orasse por mim quando eu não conseguia formular uma frase de tanto desespero. Tive um marido que foi coluna quando tudo em mim ameaçava desabar. Quem não teve ninguém? Quem saiu carregando o peso da humilhação sem testemunhas, sem apoio, sem recursos? A gente gosta de acreditar que casos assim são exceção. Não são. Enquanto você assiste a esse vídeo, existe uma mulher tentando provar sua inocência. Existe uma mulher sendo tratada como exagerada, inconveniente ou problemática, porque decidiu não ficar calada. Existe mulher aprendendo que muitas vezes a parte mais difícil da injustiça não é o que fizeram com ela. É perceber quantas pessoas conseguem continuar a vida normalmente depois do terror que viveram. O silêncio também é uma escolha. A omissão também produz vítimas. E o medo é um aliado perfeito para que tudo continue exatamente como está. Porque mulheres com medo não denunciam. Mulheres com medo se calam. Agora presta muita atenção no que eu vou dizer. Mulheres com medo duvidam da própria memória, da própria dor, da própria voz. Então, eu quero fazer uma pergunta incômoda. Até quando o medo vai morar em você? Até quando você vai pedir licença para existir? Até quando você vai achar que precisa sofrer em silêncio para não incomodar ninguém? Eu não estou falando de coragem heróica. Estou falando daquele momento em que você decide parar de proteger quem nunca protegeu você. Porque há uma diferença entre ter paz, porque está tudo bem, e se calar para ter uma falsa paz. Eu entendo que muitas pessoas foram ensinadas a chamar silêncio de paz. Eu sou uma delas, mas pagaram por isso com a própria vida, os próprios sonhos, com a própria identidade. Eu sobrevivi porque tive apoio, mas nem todas têm. E talvez seja exatamente por isso que quem encontrou a própria voz tem a responsabilidade de usá-la. Não para alimentar revolta, mas para que a próxima mulher não precise atravessar o inferno acreditando que não tem mais solução. As injustiças não se perpetuam apenas pelo que alguns fazem. Elas sobrevivem pelo que todos aprendemos a ignorar. E talvez tenha chegado a hora de parar de ignorarmos a verdade e também o medo.
Thank you for watching Great Minds Blacks.